different time zone.
Yes, good evening, everyone. It is Monday, February 14th. I am Lisa Bloom. I'm so honored to step in for Dee Corchin tonight, who's out away on having some adventures. It is 7:28 Eastern, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our inspiration. Let me just share that with you.
I see you guys really having a hard time, like, what is more important? What should I place on top of the other things? Think about the things that you have to do, stack it in your mind, and prioritize the task that makes the most sense. Grouping helps, sequencing helps. Ricky is a big teddy bear. He's an emotional guy. You know, he gets emotionally engaged with everything he does. I prefer the opposite, which is to have no emotions and objectively cut everything, because you don't want to become attached. Attachment is a route to disappointment and unhappiness. Getting things done is more important than being right. Get the job done. What you should care the most about is getting the results, not how you get there. The professional shows up, uses the resources that they have with the budget and the timeline, and delivers a good product. You all know, between a good and an amazing rock the house product, you can lose all of your life into that last 5 to 10% that nobody cares about. If it is something that is critical and really makes or breaks the moment, then yeah, do that part right. Don't live up to the title that you have, live up to the title that you want. So if you want to be a partner here, if you want to be a creative director here, if you just show up to your job and do it, you'll have your job, no problem. But if you never work on yourself and you sit there and like, why doesn't the boss ever recognize anything? It's because you haven't done jack. You should work on yourself way harder than you work on your job. You show up, you do the best job you can, you give them your best 8 hours a day, and you stop working. Now, what do you do in your own free time to work on yourself? I became somebody different, so the world will have to recognize me as somebody who has grown, and that could be your future. That's why 1000% of the time, I've said to you before, tell me what you do in your free time, I will tell you what you become.
All right. That was a little corporate-y. It mentioned that JOB word, but there were some real great nuggets in there. So I'd love to hear from you in the chat. What stood out to you about that, that very short video? So, all right. So a couple of announcements while people are coming in with that. A couple of things. Tune into the top 3 if you haven't already. So every week, Dee sends us an email with the words top 3 in it, and she puts a post in Coaches Opt for Change with top 3. That's where the best source of what's happening, good information, and really the things to kind of pay attention to. So just a couple of things I want to pull out of that and bring to your attention tonight. We have Grow Global, which is open to ED and above. That's coming up in April. We already have over 1,100 people registered for that. So work with your mentor on this. If that's an event you want to get to, plan to attend, it's going to be great. But if you are qualified now and you haven't registered and you plan to attend, I encourage you to do so quickly, because it's starting to fill up. The second thing I want to call your attention to, we have a new daily power hour that is open to senior coaches and above. This is a great way to spend some intentional time on your business. If you are not yet senior coach, work with your mentor to get there, because you're in kind of that critical phase of achieving those first or helping those first 5 people. And once you get there, then this will take you to the next step to help you grow your business further. And the third thing I want to mention, convention is coming. Who's excited? In Atlanta in July, and registration is open. If you have already registered for a convention, put a 1 in the chat and let's see it. Let's celebrate and have some fun at convention. I can't wait to see you all there. It is one of my favorite events of Optavia. So, all right, I can't see you all. I can't see your faces. I'm putting my glasses back on. I was going to try and get away without it tonight, but it's not happening. So, all right, seeing some exciting stuff in the chat. Lots of convention registrants. Live up to the life you want. Yeah, the time you spend on you is important. Tell me what you do in your free time, and I'll tell you what you become. Absolutely. And we have the beauty of creating a life around that free time and around where we spend our time. We don't have to do that 8 hours like he talked about with our Optavia business. So, all right, before we move into tonight's content, I want to just introduce Michelle Haney, and we want to congratulate and celebrate Michelle on her rank up to ED. And I'm going to ask you to come off mute, Michelle, and share a little bit of your story.
Hi, yes, thank you. I'm honored to share. Just spend a couple minutes talking about how I arrived here, and arrived here pretty quickly. But I want to tell you, it wasn't all me. I found Optavia through my coach, Missy. Well, she was Missy Dixon to me, Missy Gent. We grew up together, so we've been longtime friends. But I was watching her for a while on Facebook and watching her her business grow. And then I had a little medical surprise when I went for a yearly checkup. And so I reached right out to Missy and I said, I'm tired of gimmicks. I'm tired of all the things I've done in the past. Tell me what you've got. And obviously it worked. So reaching out to her was the best decision I've ever made for myself. Not long after I became a client and was seeing some success, she started nudging me gently into coaching. And she had a lot more faith in me at that time than I did. I was just pretty much focused on getting healthy, but she kept nudging. And, I kept telling her coaching isn't in my wheelhouse. I'm a former social worker and a longtime educator. But what I realized is all of that really goes together. People want to hear from you, they want to learn from you, and they want you to listen. And so those skills really did pay off. And I found out that coaching was in my wheelhouse, actually. It felt right. I was among friends from day one, and have developed great friendships with the people in my upline and other coaches as well. So when it feels right, it's easy to do, it's fun to do. And it's been a surprise to me how easy it has been and how fun it is. I share through social media, of course. I share with my friends and coworkers. That's been a real sweet spot, coworkers and teachers. The program speaks for itself, of course. Word of mouth. A lot of people, are talking about Optavia and what has happened with them. So referrals from clients is a big part of it. And the best tips I can give as a coach for you guys just coming on, take advantage of every opportunity to learn. Hop on these Zooms as much as possible. Get your certification. In addition to all of the other things certification does for you, I think it gives you credibility as a coach. Stay in your books. I will learn forever, I think, from the books. And know that you'll always need your coach because, you need to lean on that person even as a coach. And the big thing is, and I've had to learn this, don't assume that a client or a potential client can't or won't. And I had to get out of my own way with clients. I would think, oh, they probably won't do this, or maybe they can't, maybe they're not in a place to do it. And they've surprised me so many times. So kick that assumption out of your coaching.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. What a great share. And congratulations again on ranking up to ED. And what a great segue. Michelle and I didn't plan this beforehand, but what a great segue to tonight's topic. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's dive in. You guys, you all wanted to hear more and talk more about sponsoring because last week we truly got through only half of the content for the call. And if you were here last week, or if you weren't, I'm going to recap for you a little bit. We kind of had an open conversation and we invited you to share with us to the extent you wanted to or felt comfortable. And we employed that raise hand button in Zoom. If you're not familiar with it, if you look down on the lower right hand side of your screen, you see a little button called reactions. When you click on that, just above where you would click, it says raise hand. If you want to practice raising your Zoom hand, I'm going to raise my hand. What that does to me, for me as the facilitator, is I see you come up into the top left corner of my screen. So when you have something you want to say, you raise your hand and then I can call on you. Because if you raise your physical hand, you might be 3 screens over and I can't see you. So we're going to use that tonight because I'm going to invite you all to to chime in and to contribute to this conversation. So go ahead and lower those digital hands now, and we'll get started. So the topic is sponsoring, and last week we talked about the way you think about sponsoring, the way you feel about sponsoring, the way you think and feel about making the invitation to sponsoring a coach or bringing someone into a Coach Explore. And we had some good conversation around that. Now we're going to shift it, and we're going to look at it from the client's perspective. So when you think about it, let's step back for ourselves. And those of you, put a 2 in the chat if you were first a client and then became a coach. I'm betting there's going to be a lot of 2s come into the chat. So as you do that, I'm inviting you now to think about whichever time you can remember. Maybe it's that very first time that your coach brought up coaching to you. What was your reaction? So I'd love to have a couple of you raise your digital hand and speak it into the room, and have some of you also put it into the chat. We want to hear your voices. This is like a beautiful tapestry of Optavia coaches, and we're going to weave it all together with the thread of our voices. So Vicki Meister, tell us what your reaction was the first time your coach mentioned coaching to you.
The first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, it was like, you know what? You get a whole lot of your cards printed and given to me, and everybody you ask, I'm handing them your card. I really don't want to do this.
Okay, that's a comment. So what were you feeling?
I was feeling like, leave me alone. I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing, and I like it, and I think it's great, and I'll tell the world, but I do not want to do that. I do not need a job.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I might come back to you. Thank you, Vicki. Michelle, what were you thinking when your coach brought up coaching? You're on mute.
I felt honored because I didn't think I had it in me. I didn't think I had what it took, but she saw that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Bonnie, what about you?
No way, Jose. I'm just way too busy. And I have to stay focused on my job.
No way, Jose. It just doesn't get much firmer than that. Absolutely. Yeah, and in the chat, maybe someday, but not now. Wasn't interested. No, not yet. There's a not yet. And of course, all of you are here now because you're coaching. Never thought about it. Oh no, not another MLM. Yeah, that comes up a lot too. And that's a misconception that we basically learn and grow into it. Yeah, great responses. So, okay, so these are the thoughts. Now I'd love to invite you, like I asked Vicki, what was the feeling? How did that feel when your coach invited you to coaching? And Michelle mentioned she felt honored. What were some of the feelings that came up for you when you thought about coaching? Anybody feel scared? Scared. Oh, Joni, mind meld. Overwhelmed. Yeah, very scared. Very scared. Gina Manley, tell us how you felt.
Oh, I don't know, nervous-sided, as Paul Blanchard says. I was excited because I wanted everybody to experience what Steve and I did so quickly out of the gate. Scared because I had, you get stuck on all the things of what are people going to say, what are people going to think, and you kind of freeze. But I just went with it. I mean, I became a client in September and bought my coach kit at the end of October. So I guess there wasn't too many times, Lisa Bloom, you had to ask me over and over.
Not too many times. But and that's the thing. I think the important thing here is that it really is kind of a layered. I think of it as a layered approach. Because as you remember from last week, you had all these thoughts and concepts about it, and then you had all these kind of feelings about it, and people, you have to kind of connect those and work through it with people. Because as we talked about last week, when you thought about inviting someone to coaching and you got scared, it kept you from acting. Sometimes you pushed through the fear and got there anyway, but it kept you, the collective we, from acting. Overwhelmed and scared. I didn't want anyone knowing I was doing the program. We hear that a lot, right? I just did a tips call today and the client said, I haven't told anyone I'm doing this. Well, why not? We all know that now. I'd like to invite Vicki Feldman to talk a little bit about the timing aspect and kind of what you found, Vicki, from our conversation earlier today. Are you out there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you see me? I can see you. Can
Awesome.
everybody hear me? Yeah.
can hear-
Okay. Okay. You know, it's interesting because sometimes now that we've got a little more structure with our tips call, it's easy to bring it up in a tips call and just kind of, plant a seed with somebody. I have found that most of my coaches started coaching when they had a friend who wanted to be on program, and they didn't know me, but they knew my client. And that sometimes was like tipping over the iceberg of, okay, I guess I'll help my friend. And I think that that's a way to get started. I think that, we're talking about layering. The first thing you have to do is find out if the door is open, right? Are they interested? What would it be like? And paint a little bit of a picture of where they were, how they are, and the feeling of how that could change somebody else's life, getting somebody to think about serving somebody, serving other people. I think approaching and then presenting the opportunity, the coaching opportunity has to happen in like two separate conversations, because you can't just say, hey, have you thought about coaching? Well, and then launch into it. It probably needs to be a separate conversation. I think that what I'm looking here in the chat is sometimes we don't think about where other people are, because I see excited, overwhelmed, scared, and we can't make an assumption about that someone is going to feel the same way we felt, right? So some of it is finding out what their fears are, and then circling back around about, instead of looking how you're going to fail, thinking about, well, what if you succeed? What if you could help somebody else, and kind of changing the mindset. But I think, and I have to say that I'm one that I'm very impatient. I just want to have that coach explore, and I want that person to be so excited. Yeah, I'm in, and it just doesn't work that way. Everybody finds their own path. And I've had my path of running. And then I remember once Steve was at a convention and somebody said something about, you got your runners and you got your turtles. And she was sitting next to me, and I turned to her and said, I think I'm being a turtle. Because I just, I was trying to juggle multiple things at the same time. But, I think the other thing I just want to mention, and it was brought up in the little video that you showed at the beginning about getting attached to the outcome. And one of the things that I've really learned over time is, and it parallels clients. We can't make anybody do this program, even though we know what the gift that it can give them. We can't make anybody want to coach. It's got to awaken that desire that life could be different. As a client, life could be different if you were a coach. You don't know what's on the other side of the fence. And I think many of us have heard that the adage of, do you want ketchup on your hamburger? And somebody says, no, don't get offended. They just don't want ketchup on their hamburger. But that doesn't mean that 3 months down the road, they might say, let me try some ketchup on my hamburger. So you want to make sure that the door is not always shut, and that you don't forget to circle back around, because a lot of us, and think about it, a lot of us is timing. It took me 3 months to say yes. I know it took a lot of people a lot longer, but think about all the things that aligned that's shifted the difference between a no to a okay, I'm ready. So.
Yeah, Vicki, thank you. Great insights. It is all about timing, and it is a layered approach. And so with that, Kelly, I'm going to I see your hand up, so I'm coming to you. I think that it's just so valuable to remember that it is not a one and done, not the conversation, not even the people coaching. So I'm going to ask you all to put in the chat if you remember how long it took from the first time your coach asked you or invited you to explore coaching to the time that you finally said yes. How long did that take? And I'm guessing we're going to get a wide variety of times. And I want to challenge that whole concept of a runner, because there are some people who seem to do it fast, and there are some people who seem to do it slow. And that may be a perception or a judgment that we place on it. The fact of the matter is, we all do it the same way. We all build this business step by step by using the steps. And some of us do it consistently, some of us do it inconsistently. And it's sort of like the program, you get the results that you get from the application of the steps and the process. And along with that, we get it's not just that, but along with that, it's about our mindset and our energy that we bring to it. So the most valuable work, back to the video, the most valuable work is the work that we do on ourselves, because we're bringing ourselves to it. We're bringing that relationship to it. We're bringing our energy to it. And when that comes together with the process, it's magic. It's magic. And it's not a run. It's not a race. It is, but it is, it all fits together. So Kelly, what have you got? You're on mute.
Okay. I wanted to mention that we just don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. Because the thing that made coaching attractive to me, because I'm a dietitian and I talk to people about food all the time and how to eat and how to get healthier and all that kind of stuff in my employment. But I was fed up with the bureaucracy of what I was dealing with as an employee. I was fed up with knowing that there was a ceiling as far as how much I could help people. And when I had done this program for myself, I saw that there was something more out there that a lot of people needed. Now, there was a conflict of interest for me to do it with these in my employment, so I needed to do it outside of that. So my clients have come from church and, my former classmates and all the places that you guys get your clients from. But it's just like when people come to this program, they get fed up. They get sick and tired of being sick and tired and being where they are, and they're ready to do something different. And that's exactly what can happen with coaching. You're tired of doing whatever it is you're doing. Maybe it's not your employment. Maybe you're not sick of that. Maybe you love what you do. But think about how it made you feel when you suddenly had all this great energy, could sleep well, you could, all the things, all the benefits that we all know about because we've all experienced them. And that's what made us want to share it with somebody else, because we want them to feel like we feel. We want them to have the opportunities. And then for Pete's sake, another stream of income on top of that. And all you're doing is showing them what you did. Really, that's what it comes down to. So that's what made me excited about it, because it was something I could give to it's a gift. It was something I could give to them, to hand them. Here it is. Here's the best thing in the world you could possibly do for yourself, not just physically, but mentally too, and emotionally.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, I love your enthusiasm, Kelly, and it's so true. And that's all part of it, right? That's part of our mindset. At the same time, we've got clients out there and they're going to be resistant, and we can be telling them and encouraging them. And really, we have to go back to the process of awakening them, because when they're awakened, then they're hearing that from kind of a different place. And this is a great segue to you. I swear y'all, the universe is sending you in just the right time in the right spot. This is a great segue to Stacy Gillen and I were talking earlier today about the tips call. And Vicki brought it up, the importance of the tips call. This is a really key part of our business. And it is not, it's many things, not the least of which is introducing your client to your coach and creating that sense of community and letting them hear things from another voice. It's also a great way to either introduce or continue the layering of the topic of coaching. So Stacy, talk about your experience with that.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. And yeah, it's been neat how we're all building on each other. It's really pretty cool. So yeah, so we were talking earlier today just about, sometimes where we arrive maybe at a preconceived notion or an idea in our mind of what we're stepping into in a conversation. So, anyone throw a 1 in the chat if you're guilty of going in with an assumption that, oh no, this person, everything I've heard about them, they're not going to be interested in coaching. I really am learning that sometimes, this mindset of what I perceive this person to be gets in my way of being effective and helping them to understand the beauty of coaching. And so I stepped into this tips call the other day and I thought, this client came on plan to actually prepare for an event, right? So it wasn't a lifestyle change. It wasn't anything like that. It was to look good in pictures and to fit in the dress, right? And it was amazing to me that the more we started to discuss, I started to sense in her, she was really feeling connected to the community aspect of what we have. I had actually hosted the night before a healthy happy hour at my home, and she was able to attend. And she had exposure to a lot of amazing coaches. And I just happened to say, do you have friends that you think could benefit from this program? And she said, yeah, I actually do. I have a few. And I said, well, you have 2 options. You can certainly refer them to Shelley, your coach, or you could consider jumping in the boat with them and coaching them. How does that sound? And immediately she said, wow, that could be interesting to me. And I said, for what reasons? And it became about the accountability and about helping her stay on course and helping her stay connected and grow a bigger community. So it was really pretty cool. I mean, she even asked the cost of the coaching kit, and had I not even done that, it would have, if I held to my belief and my judgment of the situation, I think it could have been a very different conversation. So it was just interesting just to get out of my own way and really listen and ask those right questions.
That is so valuable, Stacy. Thank you. It truly is. We get in our own head and we get preconceived notions or make assumptions about someone and maybe dismiss them or maybe think, oh, they'll never coach or they're not going to want to coach. Okay, let's all raise our digital hands. If we've ever talked to a client or anyone and in our head said, yeah, they're never going to want to be a coach. Come on, let's be honest. Seeing all the hands going up. Okay, and if you have ever had the experience of thinking that about someone or saying that about someone and then they became a coach, I would love to hear you come off mute and share that experience. Is there someone on your team that you've in your head thought, they're never going to want to coach? Debbie Pasco, were you still raising your hand from the
I had my hand, but I can talk about Debbie Grolewski, who's not here right now.
Yeah, tell us.
Okay, so I know her from church, and she said no for a long time, and I honestly didn't. I should take my hand down. Anyway, oh, there I go. So she never was interested. She always said no. She had people she was going to refer, and when she finally decided, okay, I'm going to look at this thing and I'm going to dive in. The woman she has such a huge heart and she has been impacting so many people. And one of the most interesting thing is there's this networking group that I belong to that we meet on Fridays, Friday mornings. And I am the chair of the council of the Finally Friday committee. Like, it's my group. And what's so cool is that she came in for 2 weeks and she connected with a guy there, and him and his wife are both, she's not here because she's doing a health assessment with his wife right now. When she dove in and she started going, she fell so in love with not only what our culture is and how we're helping other people, and that's our culture is not about like building a business and growing and being rich because we are taking advantage of people and selling them, but that we're actually improving lives. Like, so it's just, that has been the most fun, is watching her do that.
Yeah. I think that's so exciting. And the key in there is the encouragement, right? That piece and I saw some of that in the chat too. People come to coaching and they think, oh, I don't know if I can do this. And the coach continues to encourage them and awaken them and educate them, right? Which is all components of everything we do, because it's a leap of faith. It is a leap of faith to jump into coaching. And everyone at a different point in time is going to decide whether or not to take that leap of faith. And Stacy Gillen, you had another point today when we were talking about what kind of helps people maybe take that leap of faith, or what you discovered about living out loud and what kind of an impact that has. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I cannot say that I entered coaching prepared to live out loud. Full disclosure that I had to do a lot of work personally to start living out loud. But what I will say, that seems to be a big one I get a lot is I'm not present on social media, or I can't live out loud like you do. And my magic question now always is, what would happen and what would your life be like if I chose not to live out loud? I have had enough clients now say to me, because you shared your story, my life is forever changed. And so that fuels me every day when there's days that I'm like, boy, especially when that before picture pops up, then I'm like, oh, sister, how did you get that way? And do you really want to share that? I say, yeah, I'm going to share it. Because if one person is inspired or knows there's hope, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I would just encourage you, share boldly, share loudly, share all the time.
That is a mic drop moment right there, Stacy. Thank you. What would your life be like if I had not shared? And that I think we are all here because someone else shared the beauty, the magic, the power of the Optavia coaching opportunity. So I think we're done here. That is amazing. Thank you all. Thank you to all of you who contributed. Thank you to everyone for your participation and your engagement in this call, and the way you show up for yourself and for each other every Monday night. So I'm going to encourage you now to step on over to the client community call, and thank you all for coming. We will see you next week.